Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for attending this program today, Real Estate Funding 2. Before we start, let us give a moment of silence in prayer in respect for the passing of our President's mother. May her soul rest in peace. Now I will hand over to Professor Han, who is very familiar to all of us here at AFRES, and he will lead us in this program of funding for real estate programs. Thank you so much. Professor Han, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind opening words. I hope you can hear me all right. And
Yes, we can.
Also see me. I will try to share some slides with you, and hopefully that will work too. Yes, I guess you should see the slides now. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, well, thank you very much for having me today to hold this webinar, this presentation. I believe there are some noises in the background. Maybe if everybody could mute their microphones, it would be helpful for everyone. And so yeah, I have the pleasure to talk to you today on the matter of real estate scholarships and academic awards. And yeah, I guess maybe some of the hosts could mute all participants, because I hear some noises. I don't know if you hear them too. I guess this will improve the sound quality a little. Yeah, let me talk a little about scholarships and academic awards today, but also about who and what kind of institution we are. I'm speaking today on behalf of the IREPS Foundation. IREPS Foundation, the full name is IREPS Foundation for African Real Estate Research. I guess it's enough to know the IREPS Foundation and what we are doing. I've had the honor to serve on the management board for this foundation for I think 7 or 8 years now. I also became the co-head for our competence center, for our research center in Regensburg, Germany, because we're not only doing funding, we do funding as well, but we also do research ourselves. And so we do publications. We also have master level students who yeah, complete some.
Sorry, Professor Han.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
the host can mute the people.
I think there's somebody who did not mute his microphone, right?
Professor Han,
yes.
You have the permission. Kindly, if you could mute them, you're the only one with the permission to.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know. I wasn't aware that I was the host now. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're not only doing funding, of course, I will talk about funding today mainly, but we are also in the field of research ourselves. Okay, let me just unmute them as well. Sorry about that. So yeah, let me talk a little about what we are doing. The basic idea is that we as a foundation, we do collect funds. So we do fundraising mainly in the German real estate industry, right? So the funding that we are giving out is originated by German real estate investors, by private investors, but also by institutional investors, housing companies, by commercial players, basically all sorts of real estate firms that you can imagine. And they're given to us with the purpose of fostering real estate research in Africa, for African topics, for African researchers mainly. But I will get into that in greater detail very soon. So what are my plans for today? What have I prepared? I have some points on the agenda which may be more relevant to some and more less relevant to others. I would like to start with maybe the most important aspect, because I believe most of you are either students or researchers. So I will give you a brief introduction into the grant program that we have in place for researchers and or even for students. After these scholarships, I would like to introduce to you two special awards that we have installed. One is the Dr. Gisela Schulte Memorial Award for women in African real estate. So we have a particular award for the activities of females, of female researchers, but not only researchers. This award could be given even to practitioners if they have some kind of initiative, you know, to improve gender equality maybe in the industry. So this is not purely a research award. And I would also then introduce the IRIPS Dupree Award for affordable housing in Africa, because the idea is very similar. In this case, we're not talking about fostering, you know, promoting activities of women, but anything that could help with making housing more affordable on the African continent. This might be research, yes, but it even might be something else. So in this case, I will have two inputs on maybe more practice-related awards or awards that could be for researchers or practitioners. But I will start, of course, with our real estate scholarships for researchers and students, because these are the most important groups. And I believe that, as far as I know, the future leaders of AFRES group, I believe that both groups are very, very well established with you as well. In the last minutes of the presentation, I will talk a little about the so-called DAAD visits and exchange programs. You may be aware that we have a program here in Germany, particularly for research stays in Germany. And so I will talk a little about that. The DAAD scholarships are not financed by us, so I can only talk about it from the perspective of let me say a German professor, you know, who may participate as a host institution, and we have made some experiences with that. So we had some students, I remember, from different countries. I believe some of them were from Tanzania. I believe some of them were from Nigeria. So we had people coming to us and do some research at our institutions, and they were funded by DAAD. So I will talk about that a little from the perspective of a host institution, right? So I'm not offering the DAADs, but I'm active in there as a host, maybe for a 3 months or up to 6 or 12 months research stays in Germany. So I would like to introduce that as well. And then in the end, of course, we will have some time, I hope, for questions and answers. So if you have any questions coming up or something to clear up, you know, then please feel free. Feel free to do that. So yeah, let me start with introducing our foundation, maybe on a more general basis. We were founded in 2010, so we have been in operation for 14 years now. And we are basically a research foundation. That means that our purpose is defined. You know, a foundation has always a defined purpose. And the defined purpose is that we want to foster research and education in the field of African real estate. So research and education means we are very much oriented towards universities or other academic institutions, but also practice institutions. You know, we have all been in the industry before. Some of them still are. Some of us still are. So in some way, we are also a platform to integrate both. And as I said, this is not about just introducing research grants, but I also have some awards that could go into practice, that could go into industry in initiatives, for instance. Who are we? We have a board of trustees of currently
Morning,
eight.
the lights went off.
Currently 8 members. Sorry, I have to mute someone
I'm sure
again.
something triggered.
Sorry.
But the RNA people too.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, and you may know maybe Professor Karl Werner Schulte, who is our chairman, who was the founder together with some founding donors of the foundation, and who has been doing that since 2010 in the foundation. And I remember he has been active in visiting Africa long before that. So maybe you know him from conferences as well. Then we have Mr. Holger Adam, who is head of real estate development with Clifton Homes in Ghana. He's active there. He has been there for a couple of years now, and he was born in Germany, but he's been living there for quite some time now. And then there's myself and Holger Adam and myself. We are the management board, so we do basically execute the whole program of the foundation. We're trying to arrange the funding. We support in the fundraising, and as I said, we are controlled by a board of trustees of more or less 8 people who also support us and who advise us, how to use the funding best, and who make decisions with us as well. What's our overall vision? What's the goal in the end? We would like to see some kind of academic multipliers, So in the end, we will be the most happy people if the people who get funding from us and who study, who maybe do their PhD, at some point become lecturers and senior lecturers, and maybe someday even a professor, because then we have those people in place to keep increasing the quality and the professionalism in real estate in Africa. So our idea is that we want to support these issues. We want the African real estate industry to become as professional as possible, as fair as possible, as based on knowledge and insights as possible. And in order to ensure that we try to help on bringing this knowledge, into people, let me say that as well. So as I said, our idea is to create academic multipliers. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that our foundation often gets requests in the sense of somebody would like to get some support, maybe to become a big investment banker someday, right? And while it's all nice and so on, this is not the basic idea of the foundation. So the basic idea of the foundation is that we create people who commit to teaching other people, because that's what academia does, research and education. So we try to support those people who want to help with professionalizing the real estate industry in the end. And for that reason, I'm saying that particularly, when we give out grants, we try to catch those people who commit to our shared vision, right? So who join us in this idea and who say, yes, it's a good idea to create people who know a lot about real estate and who keep teaching other people, so that the quality of the real estate practice keeps increasing over the years. So this having said, I would like to start with my content now and talk about the scholarships that we have in place. We have let me start with scholarships for researchers. Okay, the researchers are let me say core target group. We are talking about junior researchers, but also about senior researchers up to a certain age, right? So, what do we offer for these target groups? We are offering, for instance, travel grants, and you may have heard of them, especially as you come from the surroundings of the African Real Estate Society. We have been collaborating with AFRES for the last years very intensively, very closely. And so, yes, we keep doing that. So we will also offer travel grants for the upcoming annual conference in Livingstone in Zambia. What are our expectations? What are the aims? What are we trying to achieve? So our main target group here are people who are on PhD level or who are young researchers. So we have had cases where we did support people on master's level as well. But to be very fair, these were rather exceptional cases. So usually we start on PhD levels because these conferences typically are addressing PhD level as well, right? So we have the same target group. If somebody wrote a very good master thesis and would like to introduce that, so this would be basically possible as well. It's not like excluded, but usually the target group for a travel grant would be a PhD student who is working on his or her dissertation, right? We would expect our beneficiary to participate in the annual conference in AFRES very actively, right? So to do networking, to establish themselves as a part of the organization, to become engaged, to become involved, because as I said, we're trying to establish multipliers. We are trying to find people who will commit to the academic world of real estate, and AFRES, without any doubt, is the best platform for that. We are typically giving out funding to people who have a full paper on the program. What is a full paper? So it's a fully established, fully written paper, not just a brief abstract, a brief idea, but even more detailed, a full paper with all the analysis, all the literature, basically formulated from. Also check for quality, for plausibility, and so on by anonymous reviewers. This would be a typical funding scenario. So PhD students or younger researchers who submit a full paper into the referee process, and who will then, in the end, if everything goes well, be published in the book of proceedings. We have no limitations of topics, so for us it doesn't make a difference if you come from the field of surveying, if you come from the field of finance, if you come from any technical field, maybe. We do not have any exclusions here. What we have funded in the past was usually something that was of certain practical use, and or some kind of urgency, right? So when I look at the research agenda, we read a lot about this and that, maybe time series or maybe REITs, real estate investment trusts, and that's all nice and everything. But we believe that, for instance, some work that covers affordable housing solutions is probably more urgent, right? So we do not have any limitations of topics in general, but we have maybe just limited funds available. And so if we have to make a decision whom to fund and whom not to fund, we would probably we would be rather supporting those topics that are very urgent for your market and for your countries. So what is the grant? We typically cover, as is usual for travel grant, the travel costs, which is airfare, which is visa fees, which is accommodation, which also is the conference fee. For PhD students, typically a little lower, but even for young researchers, we would sponsor the full conference fee. We have a maximum of $1,500 per person. Typically, knowing from the past, this is an amount that is sufficient for covering at least the airfare, visa, and the conference fee. And in terms of accommodation, this would be something that you may have to co-sponsor if you want to go into like a luxury hotel or something, but which might be sufficient for maybe a hostel or something. We're also giving out partial grants. So, for instance, if you don't submit a full paper, like a fully written paper, but only an abstract, like a short idea or a brief introduction of your research topic, this might be eligible as well, but it's typically just a partial grant then, and might cover as much as 50% of our maximum, so something around maybe 700 or 800 USD. And of course, we only can give out money that we have ourselves. So we are giving out grants subject to availability. If funding is available, then we will be happy to pass it further on. And if not, then unfortunately we can't do that. But typically from the last years, I can say that we have been giving out something between 5 and 10 research grants, travel grants for AFRES, for AFRES area, for PhD students mainly. In addition to that, we also sponsor 3 Best Paper Awards at AFRES. So even in the next conference in Livingston, we have already confirmed that we will be sponsoring 3 Best Paper Awards. You, of course, know that research is always a lot of work, and the output is always good, you know, so usually every author, and I'm an author myself, I expect that my work is good in the end. But it's sorry, I have to mute you. Okay. But we are giving out something that is a good academic tradition, so-called best practice, best paper awards in the categories of investment, of valuation, and also on the matter of sustainable real estate. Sustainable real estate could be something in the field of ecological sustainability, but it also could be social issues like affordable housing, for instance. We will prefer full papers here, of course, and we also recommend you to publish your work afterwards in the Journal of African Real Estate Research. That's another institution that you're probably well aware of, and we have been sponsoring the journal for the last 5 or more years or so. So we recommend that you also submit your work then into this journal to get more publicity, right, to get more visibility in the community. So we don't choose the best papers ourselves because we are independent, and also the conference hosts are independent of us. So we typically see just a list of winners in the end. And the question who wins the best paper awards is then determined by the academic chair and the referees. You know that every full paper is undergoing a referee process. And so the referees and also the academic chairs, they will decide on who wrote the best papers, and we're giving out these awards. We have increased the prize money here. We are now giving out a prize money of 1,000 euros.
It's not.
That's double the amount that we had in the past. So this used to be 500. It's 1,000 now. And of course, for every category, right? So whether you're good in investment research, whether you're good in valuation, practice or valuation research, or sustainability issues, these might be eligible. The only thing that we would expect here is a full paper that undergoes the AFRES referee process. Then you present your work at AFRES, and there's a good chance that the academic chair and the referees will choose your very good work for this. In terms of study grants and tuition grants, we also have an offer. If you're on PhD level and you are a researcher already, we are typically also offering a grant program here. Our tuition work, as I said, typically starts at PhD level. We have some exceptions that I will touch on later when we talk about the students, but right now I would like to talk about the researchers, and I can tell you a little more about what we have available here. So we are trying to support PhDs, the doctoral students who try to stay in academia. We would expect a very good prior achievements, maybe a very good master's degree, maybe some sort of professional development, you know, that led you to your doctoral studies. We call it academic excellence. We don't have a fixed definition for it, right? So we don't have like, you need to achieve this and that grade, for instance, to be eligible or something like that. But usually it is more or less, you know, a holistic consideration. So we're looking at your CV, we're looking at your achievements, we're looking at your publications, we're looking at your master thesis if you don't have publications yet. We are looking at your research proposal and then try to figure out, is that something that we could support and that we could you know, give out a study grant, a tuition grant for in the next years. We also recommend you, and that's why I'm very happy to talk today, to establish a network in AFRES very early. So even in your younger years, when you're not a researcher yet, try to be engaged, try to be active in AFRES, because voluntary work in African real estate is one of the issues that we are looking at as well. Have you been active and engaged in these kind of networks before? Have you been establishing yourself in the academic world of real estate? Or is it, as I said, you know, just something that you do for your personal career that could make a difference in this question? We usually base our decisions then on the research proposal. So preparing a research proposal is essential. And also you should already have a PhD offer. You know, that the universities give out these offer letters, and you can use that to indicate, yes, I have the offer here. And then we will look at it together with your research proposal. Yeah. We are not typically just funding for 1 year, so we have continuous funding programs that's based on your academic performance. I mean, you're typically looking at a project of maybe 3 or 4 years on the PhD level. This is something that usually takes some time. And we do not only fund in the first year, but we also keep funding maybe the second or the third year. The decision here is made on the basis of your academic performance. So if you have good academic performance, you publish a lot, you are engaged in teaching maybe, or in conferences, etc. This may indicate that you're making good progress, and good progress in your PhD could you know, be helpful for continuous funding for the second or maybe the third year. Our study grants are actually tuition grants. So usually we fund tuition here. Sometimes we also help with maybe accommodation costs, but typically we're talking about tuition grants, because the tuition fees for PhD students are very high. And I think you know that at many universities. Some universities don't have any tuition fees, and that's good, but most of them do. And we support with, let me say, 5,000 USD as a maximum at the moment. Typically, you know, when we see that maybe the tuition fees are even higher, we're trying to establish if we can help with more, or if we can help you, for instance, with some of the awards. But that is something that you have to then you know, find yourself a way through, in the sense that maybe it could make sense to apply for an award in addition. Maybe you could work on something that covers affordable housing or something like that. Typically, just, you know, talking about the tuition grants, we have a maximum funding maximum of 5,000 USD per person a year. And also partial grants are possible. It depends on what topic you're working on, but mainly it depends on, you know, how many funds we have available, because typically we have a lot more applications than we can give out as grants, unfortunately. So we have to make a selection. And sometimes the solution is that we start with some little lower grants in the first year, and then based on your academic performance, we are reaching the 5,000 USD after a while. So this is just based in the fact that we have more demand for these grants than we can offer on the market, unfortunately. How can you apply for that? So the first step would be that you do inform yourself about on our website. Because on our website, we have a lot of information on not just who we are. I mean, I introduced myself and the foundation a little, but on what kind of funding we provide, what the idea is, for us to give out grants, what we're trying to achieve with that. I would recommend that you especially read our funding guidelines and also our code of conduct. Which is a document of ethics, how to behave if you're receiving funding, if you're beneficiary to this. There are some academic rules, and I think you know them all, but we put them together once again in our code of conduct, and you should be aware of them. If you want to apply, after that you can write an email. The address is indicated here on the slide, info@afrer, so that's afrer.org. And you can outline your request briefly and ask for an application form, and we will send it back to you. And then you fill out the form again, sign it, and send it back. Right now, because I mentioned already, we have a lot of demand, we have a lot of applications coming in. We have processing times that we cannot really predict. I can only say if it goes fast, we're looking at maybe 4 weeks. The standard time is unfortunately higher than that right now. So we have processing times of rather 4 months, I have to say. We're trying to improve here, but the fact is that we receive a lot of applications, and funding is limited, even though we collect it here. What we collect ourselves is also limited. So that's why I'm saying that. Let's dig very briefly in the scholarships for students. As I said, we are mainly focusing on researchers and starting at PhD level. We do have some tuition grants available, but I added here that they are exceptional. In some cases, we can do that. Also, we have had the issue of DAAD scholars that stay with us for maybe half a year, and I remember that I think at least 1 or 2 of them were master students. So what's the idea for master candidates? We are happy to discuss if there's a possibility for a research stay, either at University Regensburg, where IRIPS is located, or maybe any other hosting institution that may fit your topic better. Also, this goes out both to PhD level students and also masters. As I said, we had them before, but even here we see that the funding by DAAD that I'm going to introduce later also mainly focuses PhD. What's the idea for students? If you come for research stay, typically we would expect that we see you in the final phase of your master's degree, maybe writing a thesis, because that is a particular research project that you could work on even at our universities. And we would expect you to complete your thesis or your master dissertation. We can offer you a desk. We can offer you field research opportunities, interview partners, maybe across the country. Of course, we will make sure there's some networking and expert guidance as well. And in terms of the funding, as I said, we do not have funding ourselves for that, but we work with DAAD, German Academic Exchange Service, and I will be happy to discuss this DAAD issue later. Okay, let me skip that. So these are the scholarship opportunities that we have so far. Maybe the question will come up: do we have like tuition programs for master students as well? As I said, we do have them on exceptional basis, right? So per se, doing a master's degree is something different in Africa than it is in Europe or the US. I'm very aware of that. So committing to a master's degree is even something very rare compared to what we see elsewhere. And therefore, we are also considering basically applications on master's level. But the truth is, and I would like to point that out very clearly, that usually our funding scenarios, they start on the level of researchers, and they start on PhD level. As I said, exceptions have been made and probably will be made in the future, but the standard funding scenario would be on PhD level. Okay. So let me introduce some academic awards to you. So this was more about scholarships now. Let's dive a little deeper into academic awards. As I said, we are sponsoring the best paper awards at the conferences. But in addition to that, so because the best paper awards are purely AFRES, right? In order to win best paper award, this is something that is connected to AFRES and your participation in the AFRES conference. In addition to that, we also have two academic awards that are independent of AFRES. So you can participate in them, you can apply for them, even if you do not attend a conference actively in presence. And these two awards are the Dr. Gisela Schulte Memorial Award for Women in African Real Estate and the IRIPS Dupuy Award for Affordable Housing. So a subject award and maybe one award to foster the activities of females in research, but not only in research. As I said, this could be also an award that goes to some industry initiative, right? The Dr. Gisela Schulte Memorial Award was established in 2019. And it has the purpose to acknowledge either high quality research or other outstanding contributions of women in African real estate research or practice. And that's the basic idea. It's not purely a research award. It also could go to some initiative, maybe to improve gender equality in African real estate practice. So if you feel like maybe you're not sure if it could be eligible, what you're doing, maybe you have some kind of initiative to support women in African real estate and you're not sure, you can get back to us and we will discuss the initiative. And there's a good chance that it would be eligible because, as I said, in this case, this is not only about research. Of course, if you wrote a good paper and you're a female, that could be eligible as well. And it could go, so the award could be given to you. But even if you have some kind of initiative in the industry, this is something that that could be, fitting, that could be possible for this award. It was established in memory of Dr. Gisela Schulte. She was the co-founder and managing director of the IRIPS Real Estate Academy. And also she was a co-founder of our foundation, the IRIPS Foundation for African Real Estate Research. She had supported the foundation for a very long time, very actively, and unfortunately passed away in 2019. And with her death note, she asked that people would not send flowers, but instead would make a donation to our foundation. And people have donated more than 20,000 euros, which is more or less 22,000 US dollars. And we are using these funds for the Dr. Gisela Schulte Memorial Award to support women in African real estate. We have a $2,000 prize money. We want to make sure that you are visible, that you receive networking in the industry and also in the academic world. And we would also, if you have, for instance, a paper that will be rewarded or you have a good initiative, we will also invite you to present your achievements at an AFRES conference so that we ensure that the people know about your activities and can honor them in a good way. If you want to apply for this award, I also would like to recommend that you visit our website. That's www.afrer.org. It stands for African Real Estate Research, so it's afrer.org. And I would like to ask you to read the funding guidelines and also our code of conduct. And then if you feel confident, then please reach out to us via email. Email address is also on the slide. If you have written a paper, then you just submit that. If you have some other kind of program, you know, something from maybe from the industry, any achievement for women in that industry, then please also submit that. Write about it, let us know about it. We will be happy to discuss that as a contribution. And for those of you who will attend the AFRIS 2024 conference, I would like to let you know that all full paper submissions that are sent into the program by women, they will all be considered automatically for this prestigious award this year. So if you attend and you submit a full paper as a female researcher, you will automatically be in the list. If you have some other program, some achievement that you would see that something that needs visibility, then please submit it with a brief email to the address indicated. Yeah, so the next academic award would be the IRIPS Degree Award for Affordable Housing. So this is a subject award. We're talking about a certain research topic. We're talking about the field of affordable housing solutions. And it was established to support researchers, but also practitioners who work on affordable housing. So if you have, let me say, the big solution, right, or even just a smaller solution, that contributes to affordable housing in Africa, then this might be just the award for you to go. So the purpose of the award is to acknowledge and to support high quality research, or also best practice. Could be an industry solution as well in the field of affordable housing. Any idea that helps decreasing the cost of housing in Africa is eligible to apply for this award. It could be research, but it also could be some kind of innovative solution from practice, right? We have a lot of urban growth in Africa. We have population growth. So this matter will accompany us for the next decades to come. And in order to honor, you know, good solutions in that field, particularly, we established that award. We have a prize money of 2,500 USD. It can be given out once a year, and we also here will make sure that the winners get visibility, that you will receive support from our network, that you will be part of our network. And also, we would like to invite you to show your achievements, either your paper or your practice solution at an AFRIS conference. That will take place in September in Livingston, or any September in the next years. If you would like to apply for that, it's basically the same procedure as with the Dr. Gisela Schulte Memorial Award. So please inform yourself on our website. It's always the starting point to make sure that you know our funding guidelines and that you know our code of conduct. And in the second step, please write an email to the email address indicated on the slide, and then please submit your paper or any contribution, any achievement you have made in the field of affordable housing for consideration. Also here, if you participate in the AFRIS 2024 conference in Livingston in Zambia, we will automatically consider any contribution from the field of affordable housing automatically. As I said, this is not a purely AFRIS award. You could also submit anything else outside AFRIS that would help with affordable housing matters. But of course, those contributions that come in for AFRIS 2024 in Livingston, they will be considered automatically. So yeah, as a last point from my side, I would like to talk a little, as I said, about the DAAD visits and the exchange programs that we have in place. Let me stress again that I do not work for DAAD, and so I am not in charge of the funding. In this case, I can talk about the researchers and the student scholarships, and I can talk about the two awards that I introduced to you just a few minutes ago. But for DAD, I'm just representing maybe a hosting institution, potential hosting institution. And so the next slide will be from the perspective of such kind of institution. And I can tell you that DAAD does have funding programs for PhDs, for postdocs, and also in this case, sometimes master students. This is basically the same situation like with our foundation. So we have PhD and postdoc researchers as a core target group, but in some cases we also already had master students with us. I remember 2 or 3 of our students that we had as guests with DAD with us. They were master students who were just completing their master thesis. So they were in the final stage of their master's degree, and they also received some funding from DAAD. The organization that gives out these funds is called DAAD. It's German wording for the German Academic Exchange Service. And they have a very good English website as well. I have it on the slide, just very much on the bottom. It's daad.de, and you can find more information there. They're giving out research grants for doctoral students, as I said, master students on an exceptional basis. They have basically 2 offers. The one offer is a so-called short-term program. A short-term grant would help you with funding a research stay in Germany for up to 6 months. So that's what they define as short-term. And then they have, I would say it's a standard grant program where we talk about 7 to 12 months. So it's a little longer term. However, in this case, postdoc students, postdoc researchers are unfortunately excluded. So in this program, normal program, only PhD students can participate. You will find all the details on their websites. So if I'm telling you that the funding right now is 1,300 euros, so that's around about 1,400 USD for PhD students per month, and 934 for those who are about to be PhD students. So for the master people, and also some benefits like health insurance, other insurances, and also a travel allowance. I just looked it up. For instance, if you travel from Kenya, this would be 1,600 euros, which is around about 1,750 USD. Then this is what I find on their website today. You never know how these programs change, but as we are recording today, this is what you find on their website today. If you do the normal grant program, so for stays for 6 to 12 months, there might even be some rent subsidies. So they would also have some funds available for that. What you would require, of course, you need to apply for that, and you will need a host institution in Germany. So some institution where you can conduct your research. There are several options available, and they are subject to, of course, the capacity of the host institution. For instance, I have a professorship in Frankfurt, and our capacities are usually a little more limited. We may have 2 or 3 seats available per year. Other institutions may have more. This depends on the particular research stay and needs some reconciliation. Okay, sorry, I muted that. Yeah, so we have done that before. We also had some longer term research stays. That's an option as well. I just would like to let you know that they also have a longer term program, but this also requires you to find a host institution in Germany and supervisors, etc., etc. So the procedure here is a little more complex, but if you check their website, you will also find information about longer term offers, and if you're interested in that, of course, we can also discuss that based on your research proposal. This is a tool that you will always need. So any grant basically requires that you reveal what your research is about. So writing a research proposal is essential. but what would we expect? Maybe speaking for a host institution, of course, the research stay should make some kind of sense, right? And typically, a research stay abroad does not make much sense maybe in your first year if you do it somewhere abroad, right? So if you start your PhD, it's important to get settled at your home institution, to get your proposal approved, etc., etc. So typically, we recommend such a research stay in the middle phase of your PhD studies, or maybe in the final phase. So both of that could work. But typically, we're looking at the middle or the final phase of your PhD. And the target would be that we use, well, basically the time that you have and the time that we provide as a host institution to prepare full paper together, and maybe one conference abstract in addition, so that we participate and support the completion of your doctoral work, also content-wise. And what we can provide is, as I said, a desk research, a field research in Germany. We will make sure also here that we get you connected with experts that might be helpful for your topic, and some people from the field that may be helpful for you. Of course, it depends on the topic itself. So if we don't have experts on your field in Germany, or if it's a topic that maybe covers a certain county somewhere in Africa, then this is something that you probably will have to research on in the county. I think it doesn't make sense to fly to maybe Frankfurt to do some research on, I don't know, some county somewhere. But even that might be something that we can discuss, So also here, it really depends on your research proposal. And as a host institution, of course, you understand that the research stay should make sense in some way. Yeah, we can only offer that, and DAAD will then eventually be the ones to apply to in terms of the funding, right? If you would like to make some discussions with us about that, please also send an email here. As I said, we are trying to make this some kind of active research stay. This is not just about, you sitting somewhere and doing research on something, but we also then want to make sure that you get a feeling about our academic landscape. You have the opportunity to visit some lectures, to maybe even hold a lecture or two. You would join us for project meetings or something like that. So we're trying to make this as as functional as possible. Please attach your CV or your resume. That's very essential, so that we get an idea of your background, and yeah, also we will focus on your research proposal. As I said, this is a very essential tool to evaluate. Does it make sense to maybe organize a research stay? And this applies basically to any of the research grants that we give out. The research proposal is one of the key tools that we will evaluate. Okay. Yeah, so this was a lot of talking at my end now, and I would like to open the stage in case if there's any questions, then please feel free to ask them now. I think you can also enter them in the chat room. I haven't been observing it very well, unfortunately. Let me see if there's any questions here. Yeah. Is there any questions? Okay, there's one question by Matthew.
Thank you so much, Professor Han. Do we have any questions, please?
I see a raised hand, but I don't hear anything. Maybe you can also ask a question in the chat room, or if you can unmute your mic. Okay, no questions, no problem. Oh, there's one.
Hello,
Yes, please.
my name is Faji Daniel.
Hello.
Can you can you hear me? My name is Faji Daniel.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, please.
Okay, my name is Faji Daniel. I'm coming from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria.
Mhm.
So I just joined the meeting today through a link that was sent by a friend. So I'm just a new person here.
Mhm.
Then I want to know the minimum qualifications for this program to be a part of this program.
Yeah.
Is it only for real estate students, degree holders, certificate degree holders?
Yes. Yes, good question. Thank you very much for that. So we typically start at, as I said, master's level, usually PhD. There might be some masters eligible. And we are not limited to real estate purely. So we also have been funding some applicants from other fields, like maybe surveying, or I think maybe there was one or two applicants also from urban planning, like more architectural or planning degrees. I would say our core target group is real estate people. That's of course also finance degrees, but usually, so the purpose of our foundation is to support the whole field of real estate, and you know how broad this field is, right? So this could be a little more technical as well, but so it's not just the classical real estate finance degree that you can apply with, right? I think the more important point is that we usually start where you become a multiplier in the industry, but mainly in academia, and that starts for us on PhD level. So we do fund ongoing doctoral studies, but the lower levels are more or less an exception.
I have a few questions from the chat. I'm going to read them out for you to
Oh yeah,
answer.
thank you.
One person said, "Hello, sir. What are some of the master's courses that are offered / covered in the scholarships or in foreign universities?"
Yes. So I hope I understand the question correctly. This is about a scholarship if you don't stay at your university. It's a very similar answer. So our main purpose is to fund real estate studies. It should be master's degrees that come from real estate. Could be urban planning. And I think the foreign universities, they need to have similar offers, right? So they need to have some kind of real estate degree as well. As I said, you know, some have a major in quantity surveying or something like that. Others go more into urban planning. But the core requirement would be that there are some courses in the field of real estate. And then typically when we look at the PhD programs, this might be research-based. I mean, I know there's also some programs that do PhD with dissertation and some teaching, but usually we would see for the PhDs that the topic needs to come from real estate itself. And I hope I got the question correctly. If you're referring to something else, please let me know again. Because maybe if you're talking about a research stay abroad, then this also should be addressed to us as a university in the field of real estate. But we also have some majors in facility management, for instance, so facilities management could work as well when we're offering courses on that. And we also have architecture, of course, and civil engineering. I think I might have to make one addition, which I forgot. And this is something that some kind of criticism for the German academic landscape, because we are not right now in a situation where we offer maybe 90% of our courses in German. So the number of courses that are taught in English language, they are very low. So in the end, even if the university in Germany, for instance, offers a lot of real estate courses, doesn't mean that it's very easy to study them, because the number of like classes, you know, that are here in English is very low, unfortunately. And that's just how it is. Unfortunately, our own degrees have maybe a share of 10 or 15% of English language courses and of courses held in English. So this is a barrier that you should be aware about if you're thinking of going to a foreign university here, and the idea, you know, might then be, you know, hindered, prevented by the language barrier, unfortunately. So I hope I got the questions correctly. If not, please let me know.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Another person asked, do you fund ongoing research in academia?
Yes, we do that too. We have two scenarios here. The one scenario would be if you're already a beneficiary, maybe when you have been with us for the first year PhD, then you might be eligible for continuous funding in second, third year. I talked about that. The second offer that we have done before is we, in some cases, also supported your PhD with a field research grant. So if you have to, you know, get some kind of field research done, if you have to go somewhere to collect data, or to have some expert interviews, this might work as well. The only issue is, because this is let me say, more an exceptional scenario, that we need to understand very well why it is necessary. And also the calculation should be somewhat reasonable. So in this, for kind of field research grants, it's very important to be very realistic. I remember we had applications where, you know, there was a high amount requested for a very short stay somewhere to do some research. That of course doesn't get together, right? This doesn't work. But if there's some good reasoning, we also have been funding ongoing research projects, in the sense of these research projects were already in progress, and then we supported a special part of it, like a field research element or something like that.
Thank you very much, sir. Another question: are MPhil students considered for the scholarships?
MPhil? Yes and no. Yeah, so yes, the basic idea is answer is yes. We don't make a difference. The only thing we're looking at is basically the whole whole curriculum vitae, so the whole CV, and how it you know, adds up, how it fits together, and especially looking forward into the purpose of the application. So what's the idea for the next step? That's far more important here.
Are there any further questions?
I have one, Priscilla.
I can't hear you right now. Oh, now I can. Sorry, I can't hear you right now. Can
you, Professor Han. Just the question is holding me. It's
okay.
There's a
I'm
hand
glad. I'm glad I'm not the only one who couldn't hear it. So unfortunately, I couldn't hear your full question, but I think there was another question in the chat room. Maybe was the same question?
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well.
So this is Rodney.
Hello.
Okay, I have a simple question. You've talked about exemptionals to master's program scholarships or sponsorships. So I'm just completing my undergraduate currently.
Mhm.
Probably would like to know, what are these exemptionals or requirements towards a master's level scholarship or
Yeah.
yeah.
So I can talk a little about the past. So what kind of master's funding did we offer? These were typically master's degrees that were basically also already completed. So in the final phase of a master's degree, for instance, I remember that we supported with either a research stay in Germany or maybe a completion grant to do some research for the thesis, right? So we don't have like continuous funding for maybe first or second year masters like we do with PhD. But we've had projects, and these were mainly research projects, so not tuition grants, not the full study grant program, but more research oriented. So if somebody was working on a specific topic, like in a thesis, then we've been active in that before. We have one, let me say, like a joint venture with Henley Business School in Reading. You may be aware that there is an AFRES tuition grant as well, which is not sponsored by us, but by Reading itself. And usually this is a full tuition grant. So I don't know how much it is exactly, but they will waive basically the full tuition fee. But then there's of course also accommodation and some living costs, etc. And we have been sponsoring that before on a master's level. So for those who won the first grant, they could apply for some support on the accommodation side. We sponsored that, and we have sponsored it until this year, and probably will do it for 2024 as well. But this is something that we have to decide from year to year, because this is something that we have to fit into our budget. This is not a core activity. As I said, the core activities are more or less on PhD level, with some options on master's level available.
There's a question here. Someone asked, any opportunities for online courses?
For online courses, we haven't had this scenario before. I'm very honest. We haven't had applications for online degrees before. I know that Henley, for instance, has now been establishing some online courses, online materials, and we would have to look at it maybe more from a fee structure, just to understand how much funding that would require. But as we haven't had the application before, I can't give you an answer to that. But I would be willing to look at it. So if you want to apply for an online course, then you can send me an email and I will look at it. But we haven't had this scenario before. So typically our funding was directed into presence courses. By the way, not just in Europe or the US. So even if you go maybe from Nairobi to RD University, or from RD to Nairobi, or something like that. So even within the African continent, we have been trying to sponsor here. And let me phrase it like that. So I would be willing to look at maybe a master's degree student going from one African country to another African country, even as much as somebody going for his PhD to maybe the UK or something like that. So what I'm trying to say is we were trying to foster presence studies, but this even and especially within the African continent as well. You have good programs and they are well established. I know we have had applicants from 2 hands full of good universities. if there's a good like online, and of course we look at it as well, but we would prefer certainly a good established program that we know about in Africa.
Thank you very much, sir. Another question. Can one do a course in German language as to overcome the language barrier? And is there any scholarship for such language courses?
Yes, good question. Thank you so much. All good questions so far. Thank you. Yes, so if you receive a DAAD grant, I believe there is a mandatory, I think it's a mandatory language course that DAAD will fund. So you will have to check the DAAD website for more details and for really binding information. But I believe that there is some kind of language course before your research stay. They would do the funding for this course as well. So it was a good question because the language barrier into Germany is massive. I am aware of that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Another question. What does the panel look out for in a candidate when awarding AFRES scholarship for MSc?
Oh, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, I'm not on the panel for the AFRES scholarships. So because I think you're referring to the AFRES scholarship for Reading, right? For Henley Business School. I don't know. My proposal would be that you maybe have a webinar with somebody from Reading who can dig a little deeper into that. For instance, Professor Amen, he might be aware of that very well. I know from the applications that we have received in the past that they were all excellent degrees. So excellent in the sense of grading. I believe the results were something between 72 and 74%, which I understand is basically first class with honors or something like that. And I know that some or most of the applicants in the last years, they have been active in the field of African real estate research before. So it's kind of a similar set of criteria. They have been active in maybe doing a national service, maybe doing an internship, maybe collaborating in AFRES, something like that. So they have had some kind of connections here, but as I'm not on the judging panel for the AFRES scholarship myself, I can't give you a binding answer, unfortunately.
Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to ask a question on behalf of Ms. Fiona. She's having issues with our network connection. So can one enroll in MSc on PhD track for PhD funding? I mean, can someone enrolled in MSc on PhD track apply for PhD funding, even if it's just in the first year?
Oh, you mean he's in the fourth year of bachelor and then doing a PhD? Or is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So we don't have that model in Germany. So I'm not very well aware of it. I have to say we usually have the procedure is always in our case the bachelor is just 3 years or 3.5, I think, and then master's degree is coming addition with 2 years. I believe in the UK it's 4+1 or something like that. I'm not sure about. I think in Africa it might be 4 years as well, right? And then maybe 1 or 2 years. So we have kind of a different understanding. From the applications we've had so far, I think we might have had one doing a tenure track, not a tenure track, a PhD track with a master's degree before. But this is not very common. So usually, and if you see, we have to allocate a certain budget, right? And if we look through the applications coming in, this would probably be a scenario that we fund only if we have like excess of funding. Yeah, maybe in a good year that would be possible. Typically, if we have to choose between like a standard PhD application and this MSc track towards PhD, we would probably go for PhD directly. But this is only due to the limitations that we have as well in terms of how much funding is available. Thank
you so much, sir. So in In the absence of any other question, I would like to invite Professor Kola Akinsomi, our former affairs president, to say one or two things.
And Priscilla, I think he is offline now.
Oh, okay. Then we're going to have Dr. Gavu, our present Blackfest chair, to speak to us.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining this session. I mean, it's been very informative. And, I'm sure most of us have learned one new thing or the other. And we hope that with this presentation, many of us will put in applications, actual applications, which will be evaluated in the end, so that it would mean that we are making some good progress. So don't fear about the outcome. The first step is to always put in the application, and please let's do that in our numbers and spread the word. We will also do well to share the video link, so that for probably those who were not able to join and those who want to have, I mean, extra things to, I mean, go back to, and you can be able to have a look at them. And we thank you so much, Professor Hand, for the time. It's been refreshing, and it's always good to hear from you. And we hope that in future, when we call on you again, and we'll be able to get time to join the team for further discussions. And please, for the rest of us, if you still have further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we'll get you the answers. And thank you so much. I would hand over the mic to Priscilla once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So Priscilla, over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for finding time to join us for today's session. And thank you, Professor Anne, for this insightful session. It was a pleasure having you with us. So we have come to the end of this session, and I wish everybody a happy day.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a good day. Thank you.
Yeah. Greetings to all known faces and unknown faces as well. And you are free to, I mean, unmute yourself and say hi to someone, maybe for one or